Shalom. Did you know that this week's Torah portion, Beshalach, is a very important Torah portion in regards to the restoration of honor of our king? Did you know why the children of Israel needed to go through the Red Sea in order for Israel to be vindicated and found innocent of the accusation that Pharaoh brought against Israel? Also, did you know why Pharaoh had to die? If we understand all of these principles in the Torah, in the story of the Exodus, then we will know exactly what's going to happen in the prophetic picture of the Great Tribulation and why Satan must die and be thrown in the lake of fire. But before we get there, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the importance of the restoration of honor. Did you know that the word honor is found 3 times in this week's Torah portion, Beshalach? Let's go right there, right now. In Exodus chapter 14. Verse 4 says, "Then I will harden Pharaoh's heart, so that he will pursue them," Israel, "and I will gain honor over Pharaoh, over all his armies, that the Egyptians may know that I am Adonai." And they did so. Now in verse 15 all the way to verse 18 is something very significant. Because when you go through, it says, "And Adonai said to Moses, why did you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward. But lift up your rod." Remember that in the ancient world, the rod represented authority and power. And it says, "Lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea." Now, what I find out really amazing is the fact that in the ancient Near Eastern mindset of judgment, someone can declare and make an accusation against you, and then you have to be thrown into the river with your hands tied and your feet tied. And if you survived the wave, and if you knew how to swim, get it? And you came out alive, then the God of the sea, which they believed, then found you innocent. This is why the children of Israel were thrown into the river Nile, so that the God of Egyptians will find whether Israel was innocent or guilty of the accusation that Pharaoh brought against them. And this is why the daughter of Pharaoh adopted Moses. Remember, the decree that Pharaoh made against Israel, that all the children will be thrown in the river Nile, and then all of a sudden, the daughter of Pharaoh is going to go and transgress against the oath and the decree that the king of Pharaoh made? It is impossibility, because, repeat after me, once a king makes a decree, not even the king can break his own decree. So how else can the daughter of Pharaoh adopt Moses and not be found in contempt against the decree of the king? He survived the waters. So by him surviving the waters, Pharaoh's daughter assumed that the gods of the river found Moses innocent. Thus, the precedent for adoption comes into the table. And now we know that Moses was adopted after coming out of the water, which, by the way, brought innocence and vindication against his accusation. And now Israel, as a people, are going through the Red Sea, and they're walking through the water. Remember, the children of Israel are afraid. But wait a second, that makes no sense. They saw darkness on the side of the Egyptians, but yet there was light on the side of the Israelites. There was all the declaration of war against the gods of Egypt, and now they're afraid to go through when Moses extends out his hand, because they already went through the trial by ordeal once before they became slaves, and they were found guilty according to the mythology of Egypt. But now, our king, the Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, he is now going to vindicate his people by taking them through the sea again, so that the nations will know, and once again will be declared that the honor belongs to Yah, and that does not belong to Pharaoh, and that Pharaoh was found guilty of his accusation. Thus, he died in the waters of the Red Sea. But Israel, not even one drowned. All the soldiers and Pharaoh died. Okay, why is this so important for us to understand in this week's Torah portion? Beshalach. Because if we do not understand the principles of honor and shame, then these verses are not going to make any sense. Now, let me continue. In chapter 14 of the book of Shemot, Exodus, verse 17. "And I indeed will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. So I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his armies, his chariots and horsemen. Then the Egyptians will know that I am Adonai, when I have gained honor for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen." So what does this mean to Israel? Israel walking through the water in the Red Sea was a way to physically walk and manifest the power of the one true Elohim. By Israel being obedient and walking through the time of trial and being faithful to believe in the one who extended his right arm for protection, bear witness that he is the honorable one, that he protects his children, that he keeps his word when it comes to covenant. I'm excited because now we know that the concept of the whole principles of the whole story of Exodus is about Yah, the King of Israel, Yah, the great suzerain, Yah, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is wanting to establish and regain his honor, because Pharaoh, by defiling Israel, by oppressing Israel, by making them slaves, it is an affront to the king of the Israelites. Thus, by Israel groaning towards the king and crying out for help, now the king sends out the right arm of the Lord for protection, sends a redeemer, in this case Moses in the story of Exodus, a type and shadow of Mashiach, and then he leads them with a mighty strong arm out of Egypt, so that the honor, so that the name, so that the oath and the promises of the great king, the suzerain of Israel, will be forever manifested in the world and the world to come. And that's why when they cross the sea, they say, Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, who is like you among the gods, in Shabbat Shirah. This Shabbat that is coming up right now, Beshalach, is about declaring the wonders of the king. And every single one of you, this Shabbat, you must sing this song. At least read this chapter. It's very important. When you go through the Torah portion, take the time to read this chapter, because by you reading the chapter, you are declaring the honor that only belongs to the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that's why they say, who is like you, O Adonai, among the gods? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, fearful in praise? You stretch out your right hand, the earth swallows them. You in your mercy have led forth the people whom you have redeemed. You have guided them in your strength and to your holy habitation. So that way we know that the restoration of honor, the reversal of shame to honor, can never ever take place again. I don't care who comes around. The nations will come and try to defile Israel. But remember, just like the king once stood for the people of Israel in the Exodus experience, so does he will again for us in the tribulation to come. Don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. Don't lose honor. If the nations want to dishonor you, just keep crying out to the Lord. He will incline his ear to your prayers, and he will send our Redeemer to regather us from the nation. And when Messiah returns, riding on the white horse of heaven from the heavenly realm, and establishes a kingdom in Jerusalem, and all the nations must go up to Jerusalem to render honor to his Father, then all the nations will say, Adonai hu Elohim, Adonai hu Elohim, Adonai hu Elohim. And the glory and the honor in the name of the great King and the Father will be restored by the power and by the work of redemption of our Messiah, through Yeshua the Messiah. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you for joining us in this section of Did You Know? And remember, this week's Torah portion, Beshalach, is all about the restoration and the reversal of honor from shame of Israel to honor, and to maintaining the honor and the oath that my King, your King, our King, made to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom.